Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to yet another fantastic entry in the Mega Man Classic series, that being Mega Man 3 for the NES. Even though Mega Man 2 is considered the best by many, this game is still great and worth the time of any gamer who considers himself worth something. Let's finish off this incredible intro music before we actually get the game going. All right, let's just get right into this. We've got 8 new Robot Masters, and we're starting off with Top Man. He's probably the easiest Robot Master to fight, and his stage isn't too bad either. My other 3 commentators, of course, are Joe, Donald, and Barack. Do any of you have anything to say about the game, like any questions that I'll be able to answer in excruciating detail?
Yeah, Ben, I think it's very fitting that you chose Top Man, as in a lot of ways he is just like me, considering how I'm on the top of the board when it comes to votes, meaning I will rightfully claim my second term in January of 2025, which I would have done before if it weren't stolen from the Democrats last election.
Is it possible for us to just focus on the game right now? I have a lot to say about it, especially the new movement and abilities.
Not a chance, Ben. He's going to let us know about this every possible chance he gets, so it's time to strap in everybody. This is going to take a while.
First off, I'd like to thank Joe for dropping out the last year you could, which was the only good thing about your presidency, since it made me feel like I had some sort of challenge to win. Not much of a challenge, but beating you would have been the easiest thing in my life. I'd like to thank all of my supporters for sticking with me amongst all of the court appearances and ditching that whole law and order thing by voting for a felon. I'd like to thank my new vice president, who is way better than my previous one, who didn't come through for me when I needed it most towards the end of my term. I'd like to thank all of the Republicans who bought my copies of The Art of the Deal, except for Ben, since he had that awful review one time. I'd like to start my presidency by repealing the 22nd Amendment, and probably a few more just for fun at this point.
Guys, is it too late for me to get back into the race? I think I have a good chance of winning.
Joe, it is far too late for you to win, considering the voting has already been done, but Donald, I noticed many problems here with your whole victory. You tweeted out that you found a lot of fraud in Pennsylvania, but all of a sudden you won it. And I suppose that fraud is no longer a problem. And it's weird that many Republicans aren't claiming any voting fraud when you win, but swore up and down even now that it was rigged before. I mean, Fox News paid more money than anybody ever in a defamation lawsuit against Dominion for knowingly spreading lies, but I guess that's fine to do now.
Quit with your Democrat bias, Barack. I know the election was legitimate as soon as I saw I was in the lead, and it never went the other way, so I knew at that point that all the fraud had vanished. Besides, it wasn't my fault that Kamala somehow got over 15 million less votes than a Joe. I mean, even I didn't think she would lose that badly, but she proved me wrong.
Guys, I'm getting to the part where I fight Top Man. Don't you want to see how that goes?
I don't really care, Ben, anyway. Donald, yes, I do find it very weird that so fewer people voted overall, so I don't know where they all went, but I think the Democrats can salvage this. Joe, I'm going to have you get 7 false electors and have Kamala confirm them to get her the vote. I know she conceded and everything, but I kind of bet everything I own on her winning, so I can make this work. Ben, can you be one of the electors to certify Kamala as the winner?
Hey, I'm just playing Mega Man over here. Don't bring me into all this.
That's fine. I can find a few other people that can do it. Joe, I'm going to need you to influence your supporters to storm the Capitol on the exact same day the votes are being certified and delay the vote to pressure the people to make Kamala the president. Seriously, Joe, I bet my house and even my family don't ask me how I was able to do that. It's not very legal.
I have to be honest, I don't really care about this whole presidency thing anymore. I just want to play video games and post those sessions online.
I'm about to lose everything.
Cope.
I bet my house, my family, the password to my PlayStation 3, all of my drones, even my presidency.
Cope.
Yeah, I bet my presidency, which means they're going to retcon my entire terms and make it so that I wasn't the president that whole time.
Cope.
I never should have made that bet with Kim Jong-un.
Cope.
To be fair, he bet me North Korea, so it wasn't a bad deal. I just didn't think I'd lose.
Hope harder, Barack. You know my success as a president is inevitable. I'll be building that wall like I planned on doing before, and making sure those gas prices go down even more than me with Stormy Daniels. You can stay around the YouTube channel, though it's good to have someone to make jokes at your expense. Plus, I'm so glad I won, not just for the fact that I'll be the president again, but so Kamala didn't have to join us. I mean, I can barely stand the Democrats I'm around on these games, but having 3, that would make it so much more complicated for President Central. I mean, not that we have much of an ongoing story for the most part, but still, I'm glad she's not joining us.
Okay, we're on Snake Man's level. Are you sure you don't want to hear about the game at all?
Ben, I have never had so much at stake. Meanwhile, Donald is boasting about his winning like he will do for the rest of his life. Joe probably doesn't know where he's at right now, and you're playing games. I mean, how do you have time for all of this while being the main person behind Daily Wire?
I don't know, how does Joe have enough time to be here when he's the president for now? In retrospect, it would have made more sense to add in someone like George closer to the beginning to even the amount of Democrats and Republicans, but I'm too deep into this to stop now. Besides, nobody else here can play Mega Man games like I can, so you really need me for this one.
That would have made more sense, yes, but I'm still really worried about giving everything to Kim. I mean, he hasn't even appeared in one of our videos yet, and he's causing me these problems.
Barack, if you don't calm down about your world falling apart in front of you, I'm repealing the 13th Amendment next.
So, Ben, you know how much I enjoy watching you play Mega Man games. I'd love to know more about this one in particular.
Thank you. I'm glad someone is finally interested in the game. So Mega Man has this new slide ability which allows him to go faster on the ground and also avoid some enemy attacks. It's a really good way of increasing your speed, but you have to be careful not to fall off a platform or hit an enemy by mistake. Other than that, Top Man was really easy and his weapon is only useful in a few places. Snake Man's level has a lot of snake-based areas, but also this part here where there are a few ladders that bring you up to this sky section.
You want to know what brings me up? All of those votes I got, which kept increasing that number up to 71 million, which is fantastic and way better than anyone else this year. But somehow I was expecting even more, but I'll take what I can get.
He's going to be like this until 2028, isn't he? I suppose I can get Kim to lend me some earmuffs if I'm still going to be in these videos, but I don't think I can wear them for 4 years straight.
I think it's fine. He deserves to be happy for his victory. Plus, I voted for him since I wanted to see what he would be like as president.
I'm glad I had your support, Joe. I've never been happier to have you as part of this group. Granted, that isn't saying a lot, but I'm already on such a high from winning that I'm in a good mood.
All right, so Snake Man is coming up, and the strategy is basically to go in the middle and jump over him when he goes to the middle so you can escape and just keep shooting in between your own jumps. He's not that difficult when you get a good pattern down. This is actually very unique as there are two sets of weaknesses since Snake Man, Gemini Man, and Needle Man have a triangle of weapon weaknesses, which is very unique.
That's almost as interesting as the jumping back and forth you're doing in a pattern. This actually looks really easy. I kind of thought he would be a little bit more difficult, but no, he's just doing the one thing.
No, they tend to be rather easy. Let's actually see him get the weapon this time instead of more arguing. Mega Man is about to get the search snake, which makes a snake go straight down and then go along the floor and go upwards when it hits a wall. It's a pretty unique direction for a weapon to be floor-based, and it has occasional use in some stages.
Ben, I don't know much about this game, but aren't you supposed to choose another stage or something now?
That is correct, Joe. We're going to Gemini Man stage next because the search snake is good against him. That, and it'll give us an opportunity to meet a new character that we haven't seen before. That is if all of your constant arguments don't completely take away from the moment, which at this point I'm doubtful of.
I don't think this will cause an argument necessarily, but Barack, can you explain the logistics of you betting your family that you mentioned earlier? I'm not sure how that's supposed to work or how you have the authority to do that.
Well, it's actually pretty easy. When you become the president, you get briefed on a lot of things you can do that others can't, and we have these documents that allow you to bet another person if they agree. Kim wouldn't agree to the deal unless my family signed them, but I just forged his signatures. He didn't even care. He watched me sign them himself and accepted them anyway. It's not typically legal, but you can do a lot as president that you wouldn't normally think of.
There was actually a lot that I wanted to do, but couldn't by the end of my previous term, mainly having Santa replaced by a new figure named Donald Claus, who only gives children the art of the deal at Christmas time.
That's good and all, Donald, but right up ahead we're going to meet a new character that I'll explain after he makes his entrance. That was the new character, and for now we'll call him Breakman. His exact identity is not known to the player right now, but it will be later. He will either help or hinder you at a few points in the game, but here he clears the path. Interestingly enough, if you manage to slide before the screen transitions, then Mega Man will continue his slide, and if you jump at the right time, you can go right through the part he destroyed, but the music won't come back. Anyway, Donald, what happens if the children are bad? What does Donald Claus do?
If they've been bad, then I make them buy my special $60 Bible, because the only thing better than the Bible is one signed by the past and future president.
I think I've been good this year. I've given billions to people who've wanted it to help their goals. I mean, most of it actually went to Israel, but the same idea, I've given a lot to others.
I don't think that's quite what gets you on the nice list, Joe, but either way, you can get the art of the deal online for very cheap these days. It's not some gift that many people are going to be using for more than a few minutes after they're done using it as toilet paper, since that's what it's good for.
That statement alone gets you on the naughty list. You better get your wallet ready for the official Donald Trump signed Bible coming soon to a chimney near you. I added in a section towards the middle with what I personally thought should have been the 10 Commandments. I had to get rid of a few of them, like about coveting and committing adultery, but I left a few of them intact.
Rock, you really have to quit while you're behind. I don't think you complaining to Donald about his election victory or his Bibles or his other oddities are going to help you. More importantly, this section up ahead is very dangerous if you don't know how to jump efficiently, so it takes no effort from someone like me.
I still have a hard time believing you are more concerned with talking about the game than you are about the election or my admittedly dumb bet. While we're on the topic, what is that dog that you bounced off of earlier? I don't remember that from the other two games.
Very good question. That is Rush. He is Mega Man's new robot dog who replaces the items from the other games. Currently, we have access to one of 3 uses, this one being the Rush Coil, which makes Mega Man bounce high up into the air. There are 2 others, but I'll talk about them more when we actually unlock them, which is still a little while out as they require fighting specific robot masters.
Why can a dog make you bounce high up into the air? I tried that once, but I didn't jump any higher. In fact, I didn't bounce at all.
I am not even going to attempt asking you why you tried that. Instead, I'm just going to mention that up ahead is the Gemini Man fight, which is unique as he actually copies himself and both go in a set pattern. You can use the Search Snake to cause a lot of damage, but once they've collectively taken enough, then only one of them will be left and the jumping will be slightly different. Still nothing challenging though.
Wow, you just explained the whole thing and he's already down.
Now we've got the Gemini laser, which honestly isn't even that good. It goes forward and then goes diagonally once it hits a wall, but you can't pause the game to switch to anything else until it's hit enough surfaces or hit something leaving you open to attacks. There is maybe one good use for it, but not good overall. Also, we're coming up on Needleman's stage to complete that weakness triangle I mentioned earlier. I'm glad this game is going so much more smoothly when I can just talk about the game instead of hear all of you arguing, but something tells me that isn't going to last long.
My life is currently falling apart in front of me in every possible way, but I'll try to keep my head up under the circumstances. I can only imagine the kind of exchange we would be having if Donald lost the election.
I'm sure we would be having a very calm discussion while I would tweet out to have my supporters go to the Capitol for no particular reason at all. But I don't need to think like that because I've already won, and thankfully nobody needs to look into e-fraud because since I won there obviously wasn't any.
Hey guys, is now a good time for me to tell one of my stories I was reminded of when I saw the Needleman stage, start of yet another tale from my youth.
If there's one thing that can ruin a day, even as great as this, it's another Joe story that won't resemble anything realistic.
So there I was with uglier Joe, Harold, and Alejandro. We were on a television show of 4 lifelong friends who compete to embarrass each other, and I lost the episode, but I didn't know it until I got to this airport. I thought we were going to be making jokes on each other while teaching people about skydiving, but it turns out I was going to be the one skydiving. I swore that I would never skydive after that other incident trying to bounce on a dog, but my friends reminded me that we all made a pact to not say no to a punishment. After a while of composing myself, I made my way into the airplane where I was really worried I might die because I could hit a cloud on the way down. Alejandro tried to convince the others that I was really in danger, but the others wouldn't budge because apparently clouds aren't solid, which was news to me. Once the door opened, some person I didn't know put on something which made it so I would have a parachute, and then everyone just started yelling, but mostly me. Once I jumped out, I had this falsetto scream for most of it until I finally hit the ground. I was really happy that I wasn't in any danger, but then a while later I had to get a tattoo, which was of me skydiving, which I don't like having. The end.
Joe, that was just the punishments on Impractical Jokers where Murr had to skydive and then another punishment where he got a tattoo. This is provably false as you would be able to find the tattoo on you if it happened, but it's not there because it didn't happen to you.
Joe's story was ridiculous as always, but not much happened, so you didn't miss much. Plus Needleman is really easy with the Gemini laser.
Wow, that's another quick fight.
Mega Man is about to get the needle cannon, which is basically shooting needles straight ahead with them going slightly different levels of elevation. It's kind of helpful on a few enemies, but it's not much better than the standard attack. The more important part is the Rush Jet, which makes Rush turn into a platform that Mega Man can have under him and go pretty much wherever you want on screen. You can even get a lot more use by jumping a lot as the energy only goes down while Mega Man is on Rush specifically.
Wow, that all is interesting, Ben, but I think I need to take out the 26th Amendment while I'm deciding what I need to get rid of. Really, if someone that's as old as Joe can vote, there's definitely a problem, so I'm changing it so we can restrict voting for those over whatever age Joe is, like 230 or whatever it is now.
I don't think you can just change amendments like that, but let's stop and watch this.
Hey, that's the Brakeman guy. Why is he fighting you now?
That is him, and I have absolutely no idea why he's fighting Mega Man, as he isn't a challenge since his shots just go in the air while he gives you so much time to hit him when he's facing the other direction. He may as well not be here since he adds nothing valuable this time. Now that he's out of the way, Shadow Man's stage has these strange enemies near the top of some parts of the screen that make the main part where you're walking or jumping invisible, but it comes back once it's defeated or at least off screen. There's also an area towards the end that have these parachuting guys come down. While there's a lot of careful jumps, nothing that bad.
All right, while Ben fights through the level level not being visible, Donald, can you just go through all the amendments you want to get rid of just so we'll have a realistic idea of what to expect?
Yeah, so aside from the ones I've already mentioned, I think we can get rid of the Fourth Amendment just in case I need to investigate the deep state members without any of those search warrants or probable cause or anything like that. Also, I think the Eighth Amendment can be gone since I need to enact some punishment on the people who tell me that my books aren't worth reading. Don't think I forgot about your review that one time, Ben. Probably the 21st Amendment as well. No real reason for that one aside from I just think the idea of repealing an amendment that's purpose is to repeal an amendment is funny.
I've been meaning to get rid of a few during my term. I just never got around to it.
I can't believe we're having this conversation over gameplay of a Mega Man game.
We're skipping ahead since this is all the same, but I can't think of a game that is more or less appropriate for this kind of conversation as it was inevitably going to come up.
Just figured there would be less talk of how many amendments Donald can remove as if that's something the president can just do by himself.
I don't think he can, but right now I'm focused on Shadow Man. This is one of the few times the really bad top spin move is good, since if you hit him when you're not getting hit, then you can do a lot of damage to him. Next weapon is the Shadow Blade that acts like a boomerang, but only goes in 5 directions instead of the Metal Blade going in 8 as you can't aim downwards at all. It's pretty good and less overpowered, so probably one of the better weapons so far. Plus, we also have the Rush Marine, but this really isn't helpful as it's pretty much just the Rush Jet, but can only be used underwater, which is strange as the Rush Jet can already go underwater, so it doesn't serve much of a purpose, and I don't think I'll be using it at all.
Hold up, who designed Sparkman there? I kind of figured these robots are supposed to have some sort of real-world purpose, but that's going to be rather difficult when he doesn't have any hands to do things with, especially when he's working with electricity.
I'm more confused about the floating plug guys here, but that is a legitimate question too. I can only imagine what this place is supposed to be powering that uses up all of this electricity.
Yeah, I don't know how to justify most of the enemies in this game. It's really not something that can be explained, despite the fact that these robots were supposed to be used practically. More so with the first 6, but even then, it is difficult to imagine what Sparkman could do with his current design.
Actually, now that I think about it more as Bomb Man in this game, I missed him ever since he was defeated in the first game and Crash Man didn't really fill the same void that was left before.
I don't think he's here, but I think in my last few months as president I can salvage some funds to make Bomb Man a reality. I wouldn't be able to give him to you though, as I'm sure that breaks some sort of laws, but with Donald being elected again, I don't think it really matters so much.
If you're wondering, Joe, I will not pardon you if you make Bomb Man and give it to Barack. That just would never go well, and I'd probably lose 5 or maybe even 6 voters if I did pardon you for any reason.
If you don't make Bomb Man, I'm telling everyone about the Rohypnol ice cream flavor you tried to make.
I swear everyone it doesn't sound as bad with the proper context.
No time to think about that. I need to focus up for this next section to go well.
I'll explain it later then.
Let's do this.
I'm not exactly sure what you did, but good job, I think.
It's a lot harder to go in without stopping than it looks. Anyway, Sparkman is up, but the Shadow Blade is best against him, and there's really no challenge here.
Most of these fights have been very easy and only lasted maybe 5 seconds or so.
This seems to be no exception. Also, I'm definitely questioning Joe on his ice cream thing when the next stage starts.
The next weapon is the Spark Shot, which shoots a spark ahead, but it's only good for a couple boss fights as it only really freezes enemies in place and make it so you can't jump over them or anything. Probably one of the worst weapons here due to it being very situational. Also up next is Magnet Man, who has a lot of sections that require more careful movement than most other areas.
All right, Joe, now is the time to explain yourself for that ice cream flavor Barack mentioned earlier.
All right, so I'll explain how it's not as bad as it sounds. I heard about it being really bad after that Fat Albert guy got caught, but to be fair, I wasn't giving out the ice cream to others. I was only testing it out on myself. Most of the ice cream flavors I have invented don't get sold to anyone else as I like to have them for myself. I didn't realize what it was used for until after the flavor was already made. I was having trouble sleeping one day, and that's when I thought of it, but I didn't know the context at all.
I could spend my entire term pointing out things wrong with what you just said and still not be done. I'm mainly confused on how you had trouble sleeping. I mean, of everybody in the world, I feel like you would have the least trouble with that.
To be fair to me, I had just finished watching It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, which is an incredibly scary movie, so I was very on edge for a week after that.
All right, I don't think any question I ask is going to give me a satisfying answer, so for once, Ben, I'd love to hear more about this level. What exactly is there besides that Breakman guy?
Well, not much right now, but soon there will be these vacuums that will pull Mega Man to the right side of the screen, and after that, there are some blocks that disappear in a pattern, but nothing too bad. I mean, it would be if you haven't played the game as much as I do, but it won't be a challenge for me.
At least your ego isn't as bad as it was during those golf matches. I do miss doing those, but I'm glad we played as much as we did.
Don't mention it too much more, Barack, otherwise the comments will be full of people who want more, even though we mentioned it was done and we made a complete series video of it and also said that part 12 was the finale.
While we're already breaking the fourth wall, I might as well ask, is there any reason why none of us talk when Mega Man is getting the weapon after defeating the Robot Master? That's happened quite a bit, but it wasn't really explained.
The in-universe reason is so we have a moment to watch Mega Man get another ability and have a nice ending to the level, but to be real, it's so our editor doesn't have to continue writing dialogue for a few seconds at a time, plus it always gives me a chance to explain the next weapon, as if the audience needs instructions on how this game that's decades old really works.
What do you mean, write our dialogue? I'm pretty sure these things we say are all natural and what we would talk about in situations like this.
That's enough fourth wall breaking, Barack. It's taking the viewers away from the focus of the video.
That focus, of course, being my expert level gameplay, if I must be so humble, and I suppose also mentioning Donald winning the election too can be important. Anyway, for Magnet Man, you could use the Spark Shock, but I prefer using the Shadow Blade as you can hit him even when he's at the ceiling.
Now we'll be quiet for our editor's sake.
The next weapon is the Magnet Missile, which initially goes forward, but then goes up or down depending on if there's an enemy nearby, so it can be pretty good depending on the enemy location, especially at the start of Gemini Man's level, for example. Last up is going to be Hard Man, and no, I don't know why he's named something like that.
I'll try to refrain from making any jokes about his name, but no promises.
I can only brace myself for whatever you're probably going to say. I am curious, though, Ben, in an attempt to keep off of the topic on any jokes about Hard Man's unusual name, what exactly are your opinions on this game?
So I think that it's definitely worth playing in general and not just from Mega Man fans. It added the slide, which is a great way of adding more strategy on when to use it in relation to the various enemies and can open up some new ways of interacting with the levels that weren't possible before. The weapons overall are okay, but some of them are just not good, like the Spark Shock and the Top Spin. Even if they technically all have uses somewhere in the game, it's not well balanced, as the Shadow Blade is the best weapon by quite a bit, though nothing is overpowered exactly. The bosses do put up more of a fight when you're not as well practiced, though the weaknesses can make them too easy. Some parts just don't seem well tested, such as the Breakman encounters barely even qualify as a fight because of how easy they are, along with the useless nature of Rush Marine or the easy exploit of continuously jumping with Rush Jet. That and some of the later levels are going to be of a lesser quality overall, but I won't spoil those since we're not there yet. The music and graphics are definitely at least on par with Mega Man 2, and is in my opinion a comparable quality.
I suppose that all makes sense. Perhaps if we've played these games before, then we'd have more to say, but I think we're fine with just watching you do this the way you have been already. Sorry if we've been going off topic for most of this video. It's just difficult not to talk about recent events, though I could have gone without Joe's ice cream problem. I don't know how he comes up with these ideas sometimes.
I usually get them whenever Hunter gives me that salt or whatever that is that gives me inspiration for my ideas.
That actually explains a lot of it now that you say it like that.
When I am back in the White House, along with all those amendments I can just get rid of, I also plan on outlawing ice cream to mess with Joe exclusively. Like, I won't even stop others from getting it. I will specifically make it against the law for Joe to be around ice cream in any way.
Here comes the only Breakman fight that's remotely challenging because the terrain isn't even, but it's still not that difficult.
Guys, is anyone going to come to my defense after Donald plans on making it illegal for me only to have ice cream? That seems like an important thing to mention.
No, I don't really care at this point.
I'm on Donald's side for this one. You have this weird obsession with ice cream and popsicles, and I think that decision is probably for the best.
Glad we can mostly all agree on this one. It only took 20 minutes or so, but Barack is finally happy with one of my decisions as president soon. Plus, that Project 2025 is actually looking pretty good now that I plan on hiring the guy who made it.
Ben, please talk about Hard Man before this gets too political.
Just use the Magnet Missile. I don't know why I bother explaining these guys since they go down so quickly.
Well, at least we got through with minimal jokes about his name.
All right, now we've got the Hard Knuckle, which is slow and can be adjusted mid-shot, but we're ending things for today, and next we'll take on the Doc Robots plus Dr. Wily.
I don't know what a Doc Robot is, but I enjoyed seeing the game today. Thanks to all those who watch our videos.
Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos while I'm president again.
He had to bring it up one more time. Peace out, people.